Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And Maggie's here and happy to join us this morning. Today's topic is blame and responsibility. So we get to look at the dynamics between these two um, notions or two perspectives on accountability. It should be interesting. Before we get started, though, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs and flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells and all your organs, and bringing vital life energy throughout your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, any stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating all your cells, electrifying and energizing all your electrons and molecules. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension and stress, negativity and fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together and very, very softly rub your fingers against your palms and feel the deliciousness of that sensation and bring yourselves present right here, right now. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, Rosalind. Welcome. So glad to have you here this morning and so glad to be here with everybody who's joining us in real time or in replay. Anyway, let's talk about blame and responsibility. And I don't think we can have a conversation about blame and responsibility without having a conversation about victimhood. One of the easiest ways to move out of victimhood is by self-empowering through taking responsibility. So when we have an altercation with another person, or we have a situation that is undesirable, we often lay blame. So the definition of blame is to hold responsible for some kind of fault or error. So what's happening there is that blame is based in judgment, right? So when we have judgments of others and of situations, that's creating a separation. And you know, I recognize humans are meaning making machines and judgment making machines. That's what we do. And it's important for our survival to be evaluating situations and to be assessing things. And we do it all the time. However, when just to understand the mechanics of some of these emotional dynamics can be really, really helpful to disentangle ourselves from them or from the effect of them. So things happen and we can assign responsibility or assign blame for those things when it's a false assumption. It's a false connection. Good morning, Lisa. Welcome, welcome. We're talking about blame and responsibility. So here's an example. I needed to go and take my mom to the hospital the other night, and she's doing well. So thank you in advance for your well wishes for her. She's probably getting out of the hospital today. But anyway, I had to go and pick her up because she wanted to go to a specific hospital, and if she had gone by ambulance, she wouldn't have been able to do that. So on my way there, I was driving on the highway and I hit one of those big tire treads that peel off the truck tires sometimes. Anyway, I hit this tire tread And I'm like hoping and praying that I can get to my mom and that my car is okay. And I had to drive a little while still. I drove a little while. I got there. The car started making noise. And when I parked it, I fortunately, what a blessing, I was able to get there. Right. But the car is pretty beat up. So, now there, it triggered a whole sequence of events. Anyway, my mom kept saying, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. She felt responsible. And I could have blamed her for what happened to my car, right? Well, the fact is, I was driving the car. I couldn't avoid the tire tread, but I was driving the car, and it had nothing to do with, like she was not in any way responsible for the me hitting the tire tread. Obviously I wouldn't have been driving there if it hadn't been for her, but it's not her fault, right? But in the past, the distant past, I might have blamed her, and had this whole story about, you know, hello, Elaine, and happy and joyful now to you as well. Welcome, welcome. So we're talking about blame and responsibility and victimhood. And so if I, I could have put things together in such a way to absolve myself of responsibility for having hit that thing, I hit it, right? I could have blamed her, and she was blaming herself. And I said, you know what? Things happen. This has nothing to do with you. You weren't driving the car. You didn't put the tire tread in the road, right? It's not your fault. And so if I had been blaming her, I would have been making myself a victim, right? And even if I'm blaming myself rather than taking responsibility. So this is a nuance. I know that the nuance is blame is laying responsibility for a fault or an error, right? Usually there's a bunch of emotion attached to that, right? That leads to, it's your fault. I'm the victim here kind of thing, right? Whereas taking responsibility is, this happened. It's taking responsibility can be a more neutral experience, and it's empowering because it's like, okay, I was driving, I hit the thing. Now I get to take care of all the fallout around it, like the things I have to handle. And I can be a victim about that, or I can just take care of it, right? The blessing in the thing is that I got to my mom's place and I was able to use her car to take her to the hospital. So that Lisa says, my brother irrationally blamed me for any and everything that happened to him. I swear, if a bird pooped on his head, he claimed I was the one who fed it. Lisa, that's hysterical. That's really funny. And so in your brother's case, I'm sure it doesn't feel hysterical or funny, because being blamed for somebody else's problems. So, I know exactly what that can be like, is like, well, I'm not even going to repeat that one, but yes, other people, or people, sometimes other people like ourselves, like maybe exactly like ourselves. Sometimes we blame other people to lift the burden of the responsibility from ourselves. So in your brother's case, perhaps he's just not willing or able to take ownership of his own life and his accountability in the context of his life. Elaine says, blessings to you and your mom. This shift is bringing these experiences out to expand. Beautiful job, you two. Thank you. Thank you, Elaine. Yes, we're dancing. And Lisa says, and no one was hurt. Exactly. No one was hurt. That's a big deal, not a minor detail. So I wasn't hurt. My car didn't careen and hit somebody else. Uh, no one was hurt. That's a big deal. Thank you for that. And good afternoon, Pat. Welcome, welcome. So good to have you here with us. We're talking about blame and responsibility. And Elaine, thank you for asking how my mom is. She's doing better and is probably going to be being released today. And I think that she's feeling empowered to be able to have some support in breathing. You know, she's having some breathing issues, so she's getting some processes to help her, which is awesome. So Lisa said he's passed on now. Wow, he died 11/11/11. Wow. And Lisa says, I think that means he finally got it. That's a pretty heavy duty sign, right? 11/11/11. There's something there for sure, for sure. At least I'm a numbers person. I watch numbers, and 11/11 has always been a powerful numeric symbol for me. So I'm inclined to agree with you. Wow. And I'm sorry for your loss. And it sounds like maybe you've gained some humor around it a little bit. I hope so. That maybe in his passing, there's been some resolution for you, I hope. Definitely angel numbers for sure. So Elaine says, you're the second person to say this about their car hitting something in the road. Interesting. You know, maybe I find the synchronicities to be so fascinating. You know, to see all these things that coincidences. I don't really believe in coincidences. So I pay attention when there seem to be these synchronicities. And the truth is, I think that there probably are always synchronicities. We just don't always notice them, right? Along with the 11/11/11, Lisa, you know, when I look at the time and it's 11/11 or 2:20, 11/11 more so than the others, but like 2:22 or 3:33, you know, those kinds of numbers. But I also love it when I see 1, 2, 3, 4, like 12:34 and or 1:23. Anyway, I take those things as winks from the universe. The interesting thing about this, the car situation, is that in the past, and I'm happy to say in the past, it could have become super high drama, right? With lots of blame, lots of victimhood, lots of anger, frustration. And in this case, it was just really having a feeling of gratitude and appreciation for the fact that I made it to my mom's. I didn't get hurt. Nobody else got hurt. And I was still able to take her to the hospital. And here's the really cool thing too, is when we took her car, fortunately, just a little while ago, she had her battery replaced. We were driving to the hospital and saw this massive rainbow. How cool is that, right? She said she hadn't seen a rainbow in years. And how cool is that, that we were on the way to the hospital and she saw a rainbow. So she took that as a really powerful and hopeful sign, which was really, really cool. So Elaine says, the energy is really ramped up the last few days. Wisdom is just slow way down. Be as present as you can in the now. Good advice, Elaine. All of us, that's the thing, is to be in the present. Lisa says, I have to go to work now. I like my job, but it interferes with my other plans. Have a wonderful day. Lisa, thanks so much for being here. And I wish you a wonderful day too. I'm sure we all do. And thanks for stopping in. So Elaine says it really feels good to see how far we've come. I agree. There's such when we get to recognize, like in this car scenario that I'm sharing with you, in the past, there would have been a whole lot of blame, a whole lot of anger, a whole lot of resentment. And, rather than, okay, this is what I get to do to take care of things, okay, this is what's on the plate. There's a little bit of frustration. I have to admit, I have moments of frustration in navigating all of it, but I have to say, it's been flowing really beautifully so far. I got a rental car because my car wasn't drivable, and I had a narrow window of time to be able to take care of that, and time opened up, and the timing for the whole thing was perfect. It was really quite extraordinary to say, I don't know how this is going to work out, but all of a sudden, just things fell into place one after another, and it was seamless. So what I noticed is that by not resisting the flow, I mean, I had emotions going on, and I was aware of those emotions. I didn't succumb to them. I didn't fall into all the negative conversation that could have been there. But things flowed. It was really, really remarkable. And as if it were orchestrated. Good morning, Jennifer. Good morning. So good. We're glad you made it too. Welcome, welcome. So we're talking about blame and responsibility. And those two words, even though blame is defined by assigning responsibility, it's usually for fault or error. And so fault and error is based in judgment, right? Like bad and wrong, right? And so blaming, in this case, I was talking about taking my mom to the hospital, and on the way there hitting something and disabling my car, but I made it to be able to take her to the hospital, and then we saw a rainbow. So Elaine says there's always a rainbow after the storm. Mom got that. Cool. Yes, definitely cool. It was really cool to see the rainbow. And the thing is, like there's all these emotions when you have to take somebody to the emergency room. There's emotions that arise around that for sure, and then having hit that thing, and there was a lot of psychic energy going on, but it was very different from blame. Like there was a moment that was like, well, if I hadn't had to go to take her to the hospital, blah, blah, blah. And that, thankfully, it was just a moment. Mom's doing okay. Mom is, she's breathing 100% better. When she went into the hospital, her blood oxygen was like 81. And while I was there with her in the emergency room, they brought it up to 100, and she's doing a whole lot better and getting treatment and feeling better about the whole thing. So it's all good. And hopefully she will, when she's released today, I think, she will have better tools to be able to take care of her situation, her condition. So anyway, how about you guys? Stories around blame and responsibility, and being able to shift from blame to responsibility, to like self-empowering responsibility, because we often blame ourselves for things. And there's a distinction between blaming ourselves and taking responsibility. I mean, taking blame is disempowering. I think it's disempowering for whoever's doing the blaming, uh, and and potentially disempowering for the person you're blaming, because you could be behaving toward them in all kinds of nasty ways, right? And thank you, Elaine. I'm sure that the love and care energy that you guys are sending is reaching my mom, and I really appreciate that for her. Um, so the blaming thing has victimhood and disempowerment and oftentimes anger and um, oftentimes, well, I would say maybe universally, we're absolving ourselves of responsibility when we're blaming, or we're not even being responsible for our own emotions, right? Because we're blaming someone else. So, Jennifer, thank you for sharing this. I used to blame people for my own emotions around situations they would cause. Exactly. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Perfectly said. So, somebody does something, creates a situation, I get all angry and upset, and I blame them for me being angry. You made me really angry, or you really hurt me, or you did this to me. When the people are doing what they're doing, and my response, my reaction is my responsibility, right? That's on me. That's something that I have the ability to shift and control, right? That's something like, my feelings are my feelings. I'm the one that's generating them, regardless of whatever the circumstances are externally. I'm the one that's generating the feelings. I'm the one that's responding that way. And it doesn't mean that you might not be justified, for instance, in being angry with someone for whatever they're doing or saying, but ultimately, whether it's justifiable emotion or not, we still get to say, that's my emotion. I'm not making you feel any particular way. You're not making me feel any particular way. You're doing this and I'm feeling that. And when we look at things that way, we are empowering ourselves. We are giving ourselves the power and the autonomy to be able to choose differently. Good morning, Christina. Haven't seen you here for a while. It's so wonderful to have you back. We're talking about blame and responsibility, and also like with the subtext of victimhood. It's like when we give other people power for our well-being, power over our well-being, we become uh, we become victims. We become at the effect of the which way the wind is blowing. We just get blown about. And when we recognize that we have the capacity to make a choice about how we respond to things, then we have greater freedom. Now, sometimes, and I recognize this, that we have patterns that are so deeply embedded, our reactivity, our hurts are so deeply entrenched that we don't have access to the choice. And sometimes, we need to do work to clear whatever those triggers are, so that we can come to a place of choice. And that's what the work of personal evolution and personal growth is all about, right? Is de-weaponizing those triggers. Because what happens typically is when a trigger sets off, it's like a light switch, and then we become robot reaction behaviors, right? It's like, bam, okay, we turned on the program, and then it just runs. But when we get to denature the triggers, when we get to diffuse them, then that's where we come to a place of choice. Elaine says, I was the scapegoat in my family. I took on everything and they were very happy to let me. Wow. Wow. The perfect victim. I played that role very well. I was a master at blaming, addicted to judging others and myself. I showed no mercy. Now that was a ride for sure. I hear you, Elaine. The pain and suffering is what woke me up. So grateful for every experience, emotions, and the ability to heal and let go. So what a journey you've gone through, Elaine, you know, to move from that blaming and victimhood, me too, to a place of self-empowerment and autonomy, and having this place of letting go and healing. Congratulations, that's huge. Really well said, and good for you. And Jennifer says, the past 2 years of inner work and teaching my grandchildren how much we give how much we give away our power and how to maintain our power has been very empowering. I'm quite certain it has. You know, it's so interesting. You bring up a really interesting point about teaching others. You know, when we teach others, we learn the lesson. There's no better way to learn something than to teach it. And so teaching your grandchildren about how to maintain their own power and their self-empowerment has had to reinforce all of those lessons that you're teaching to them for yourself. So congratulations on, first of all, finding that wonderful vehicle to empower yourself, and second of all, for bringing that wonderful, wonderful gift to your grandchildren while they're children. What a gift to them. That's beautiful. So the gift that keeps on giving, right? Gia, welcome. It's so good to hear, to see you here. And I'm delighted to hear that you've been following every day. So good to have you here as part of the conversation. We're talking about blame and responsibility and victimhood and self-empowerment, really, because by moving into personal responsibility, we move out of victimhood. You know, even if we can say it was my fault that I did, you know, that this happened, that's not, even if I mean, there's judgment in that, right? It's my fault. I was at fault, but it's also taking responsibility. Jennifer says it's very humbling. I would imagine it's humbling, but also tremendously rewarding and empowering, Jennifer. So good on you to be giving that gift to your grandchildren. So I think we might be calling it a morning. Blame and responsibility. We get to empower ourselves to have power in our lives to make choices. And when we make choices, you know, the thing about making choices is we don't always make the best choice. We try to make the best choice that we can make in the moment. And so when we look back and we say, you know, I did this, I did that, rather than blaming ourselves, we can be looking at the circumstance as feedback, right? It's like, oh, okay, that choice led to this, this, and this. I'm not going to make that choice again. In the future, I'll make a different choice, for instance. And that way we can learn from our experiences without having to be disempowering and victimizing ourselves. So Elaine says the joy is when you realize we never have our power away. We never give our power away. It's not possible when you remember what true power is and who you really are. But that's the journey. Exactly. We create the illusion of having given our power away. So always a joy to spend this time with you. I'm so grateful for you and your input and your presence, and it you just make my morning. So I just want to say thank you, and lots of love. Until next time, have a wonderful day.